Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. I begin in the name of God, whose mercy is profound, whose kindness is forever. We will start discussion on verbs, fail, from this session. In Arabic, unlike in many other languages, fail verb has two categories. It's either madi, which is past, or it's mudare, which is both present as well as future. Obviously, in some cases, there are indications as to whether a mudare fail is used for the present tense or the future tense. But in most cases, it's going to be the context that will decide as to whether a mudare verb is used in the present or the future tense. That is a slight difficulty. But in the case of fail madi, past tense, there is no such complication. It's just a matter of familiarizing ourselves with the verbs, and like in the case of pronouns, here too we have a matrix, gardan, which we call, that would give you an idea of what different forms a verb takes in the past tense when it moves from one category window to the other in the matrix, where we have 14 different possibilities. As in the case of pronouns, I started with wahid, which is singular, tathniya, which is two, and jama, which is plural. Then we have muzakkar, which is masculine, muannas, feminine, and the two in this case are ghaib, which is the third person. We have likewise muzakkar and muannas categories in the case of hadir, which is the second person, and we do not have any distinction between muzakkar and muannas when it comes to mutakallim, which is the first person. Now, let's take any verb, one example. Let's take the example of dharaba. Now, dharaba, I've put there in the position box where it is wahid singular, muzakkar masculine, and ghaib third person. So the meaning of it is he beat up. So there is one man who did this fail verb act of beating up. When it goes to the second box in tasniya, it is dharaba. There is a slight difference in the sound. When you are reading zabar without an added alif, then its sound is half as long as that of zabar, which is accompanied by alif. So this is dharaba and this is dharaba. And here obviously the meanings change. There are two men who beat up. And when it comes to plural, it's dharabu. And there is an alif, silent alif, which is added at the end, playing no role whatsoever in its pronunciation, in its reading, but it's just customarily used for the purpose of writing, which really means dharabu means they beat up. There were quite a few men, more than two, who did this act of beating up. When it is done by one lady, then the verb is darabat. She beat up. When there are two ladies involved in doing an act, then it transforms into darabata. So it's a ta with a fatha zabar followed by an alif. And when it's more than two ladies who do this act or who did this act, this is in the past, it's darabna with noon and a fatha on top of it. Darabna, you don't prolong the voice of it, it's just half as much as it would have been had there been an alif. Then you have hazir muzakkar wahid. You beat up, that is, you, one man, you did this beating up act, darabta. If there are two who did it, then it's going to be darabtuma. The two of you beat up. And if there are more than two, then it's darabtum. When it's going to be one lady present, second person, and you're saying you beat up, oh lady, it's going to be darabti. In the case of the two of you ladies, it's the same. So darabtuma could be you two men beat up, you two women beat up, or you one man or one woman, you two together beat up. And if there are several ladies who are present whom you are informing that you all beat up, it's going to be darabtunna. In the case of first person, it's going to be I beat up, whether a man or a woman, it's darabtu. And we beat up, whether masculine or feminine, two or more than two, it's darabna. Mind you, this is darabna and this is darabna with a zabar fatha on top of noon followed by an alif. It prolongs the voice, and it is twice as long as that of fatha zabar, which is not accompanied by alif. This is the metric, this is the gardan of the past tense, the fi'l madi. Once you have mastered it, once you have memorized it, no matter whatever verb of the past you will have, you will be able to likewise know which category it would belong to if you were to give it a meaning of your choice. So just let's do a simple practice of it. You have a look at the different possibilities, and let's move horizontally and do these 14 possibilities. It's daraba, daraba, darabu, darabat, darabata, darabna, darabta, darabtuma, darabtum, darabti, darabtuma, darabtunna, darabtu, darabna. When we do an exercise for the purpose of practicing, we ask ourselves questions, and we put ourselves in a situation where we are struggling to find what the right answer is. So if I was to ask you this question and you just exert some pressure on your memory and try to figure out, looking at the metrics as well as trying to figure out in your mind, if I was to say, what does darabtunna mean? You already know that daraba means he beat up, but you'll have to find out where darabtunna is. It's here. It's jama plural, it's muannas feminine, and it's hazir second person. So it would mean you ladies beat up more than two. If I was to ask you that you mention the fact that that lady, she beat up the one who is not present, what would be the Arabic of it? And you would know that we're talking about ghaib, third person. There is one lady involved, muannas, and it is darabat. So, we keep practicing and we keep figuring out as to what is the right expression for a certain meaning that we want to convey, communicate. Once you have mastered the gardan, then you can make verbs out of one verb that you would know, let's say from any book, from the Holy Quran, and you can go on doing all the 14 different variations. So let me, for example, instead of daraba, ask you to make use of zahaba for the purpose of going through the same gardan. Now, all that you've got to do is to bring in the changes, variations that we have already done in the case of daraba, but instead of daraba, put here in the first box wahid muzakkar ghaib, singular masculine third person, put zahaba over here, and let's try to do the same exercise. What we will have is zahaba, zahaba, zahabu, zahabat, zahabata, zahabna, zahabta, zahabtuma, zahabtum, zahabti, zahabtuma, zahabtunna, zahabtu, zahabna. Zahaba means he went. So if I was to ask you, what is the Arabic of I went? I is mutakallim, first person, singular. Instead of zarabtu, it's going to be zahabtu, I went. And if I was to ask you what is the meaning of zahabata, so you will figure out where zahabata is to be placed, and you would know that the sense that is being communicated is that those two women, they went, zahabata. Had it been those two men, they went, it would have been zahaba. So, the idea is to practice and to be able to know more and more clearly where a certain verb is to be placed when its meanings are to be described. Obviously, our challenge mostly is going to be not quite as much as to speak it properly. I don't mind people doing it. Obviously, it's a very welcome idea if we start conversing in Arabic. But obviously, the more important challenge that we have at hand is that we start understanding the Quranic text. And I can tell you that it plays a very important role in understanding most part of the Quranic text. Once you have done the gardan of the verb of past tense, obviously we are also going to do the exercise for Fe'l Muzari as well. But let's keep on with our practicing of this particular gardan of Madi, of past tense. Let's say we have another verb that we are familiar with, samia. Notice there is a slight difference here in compared to zaraba and zahaba. Here we have one kasra, zair, underneath meme. So it's samia. However, aside from the slight difference in the appearance of the verb, there is going to be no change when it's going to come to the question of this verb going through the different steps, boxes of the matrix. So Sami'a means he heard. One man who is not present, he heard. Sami'a. Um, when you will say those two men heard, then it's going to be Sami'a. Now it's not going to be Sama'a, because we know that the original verb is Sami'a with a kasra, zair underneath meme. That zair, that kasra, is to be retained in all the different variations that we will introduce. Sami'a, Sami'a, Sami'u. So Sami'u is they heard, that is more than two men. Sami'at, that lady heard. Sami'ata, those two ladies heard. Sami'na, they all heard. That ladies, the ladies were not present. You one man heard. Sami'ata. You two men heard. Sami'atuma. You many men heard. Sami'atum. You one lady heard. Sami'ati. Two ladies heard, or two men heard, or one man or one woman heard. Sami'atuma. You many women heard. Sami'atunna. I heard. Sami'atu. We heard. Sami'na. The famous expression in the Quran, Sami'na wa ata'na. We heard and we are going to be obedient. We shall remain obedient. This is really an exercise. The more you do it, the more you practice it, the more you would find that you're getting comfortable in understanding the variations that are there in the past tense, the fi'l mazi of the Arabic verbs. Let's do another example. The more we will do, the more we are going to be comfortable with it. Let's say we have another famous verb, nasara. Now, obviously, the gardan, the metrics is going to be the same variations and changes. You can do them, but let's do an exercise wherein I put up a few questions and let's figure out how well can we answer them. If nasara is the original verb of wherein we at the moment have zaraba, wahid singular, muzakkar masculine, and ghaib third person, what do you think should be the correct Arabic expression for the sense, the meaning, you lady helped. Nasara means he helped. You one lady, you helped. So obviously when you say you, you're talking about second person, hazir, and you're talking about feminine, and you're talking about wahid. So instead of darabti, you would say nasarti, nasarti. You one lady, you helped. If I was to ask you that there is a verb which says nasaru, nasaru, what does it mean? So what you will need to do is to put nasaru at the right box, which is here, zarabu, which is plural, which is third person, which is muzakkar. So there are three different factors that get together, and you get the meaning of nasaru as they all helped. They being the men, all those three men, they helped. So this is, an opportunity for us to practice as much as we can. We have likewise many other verbs. Shakara is what we have in the Quran, kafara, we have qatala, and so on and so forth. You take those verbs, write them down, and practice them. So we know, for example, shakara means he was thankful. If I was to ask you, what is the Arabic of those ladies were thankful? those ladies means the ladies who are not present. They are the third person, ghaib. So they are plural and women. Darabna, shakarna, shakarna. If I was to ask you as to what would shakartu mean, shakartu. So you would know after having gone through the process of practicing it that darabtu is I beat up. So shakartu would mean I was thankful. So, likewise you can make use of kafara, qatala, and all these verbs, they are in the past tense, and you have now the gardan, the metrics before you. The more you make use of it, the more you are going to master it, and you would find that many of the expressions in the Quran would become more clear to you, their meanings, their understanding, and you will be able to understand the text directly. And that is exactly precisely what the purpose of this exercise is. May the Almighty enable us to understand the Quran directly and for us to be able to get guided through it.